The Attorney General held in contempt, and I know from the start of all this, you have said this is about getting the truth for the Terry family, for Americans, and for all those people who live along the border and live in fear every day, and those are people from your home state. What kind of feedback have you gotten since this vote yesterday?
Outstanding support. They want every American, including the Attorney General, to be held to the same rule of law that they are.
But they don't seem to think that's the way it should be.
No, they don't. They're above the rules, and that's what's sad about America. I know that even after contempt charges, Jenny, letters were sent that they weren't going to pursue this from the Justice Department. I think that is so flawed. I think America ought to be outraged that due process will not follow through.
And I know because I talked with Congressman Issa earlier, and he said that they know, that the U.S. Attorney in D.C. who would deal with this criminal contempt charge has been instructed by the administration not to pursue it. And I know you said yesterday this is about justice, but this is about justice, isn't it? When you look at the Obama administration, Obama style.
Absolutely. Once again, we see, and Arizona's all too familiar, and that's why I said earlier, I'm tired of the war against Arizona by this administration. But you know what? Pick this war with us, and we'll finish it.
If the federal court is the way you have to go on the civil contempt charges, how long do you think that would take?
I'm not an attorney,
yeah, I know.
Jenny. So you never know how things will go like that. But you know what? I think that America is restless. Well, I don't think. I know. People are very find this administration very unpopular. Looking at what this Attorney General has stood for, from not allowing voters to be reviewed as far as voting logs, to clear them out and make sure that rightful people have a chance to vote, to looking at an immigration stance. I mean, when people start to see the summary that an administration wouldn't help out Arizona in regards to illegal immigration, how despondent is that? That's retaliatory. That's kid stuff. But the problem with this kid stuff is that it has lives on the line, just like these guns do. And the more this gets out, the more people are going to find that they cannot tolerate this administration.
And you have Democrats, led by Representative Nancy Pelosi, staging a walkout in protest of this vote. And I know that Agent Terry's mom said she called it a disgrace to them and not to my son. What did you think when you saw those Democrats walking out?
Well, I was despondent, Jenny. If I had my way, what I wanted us to do was to vote on facts and findings, to make sure that their law license was put on the line, about making sure that everybody understood what was here and not, hiding behind some charade. And the whole key about that I've seen and heard about the race factor and the race card, Arizona's multi-race. We have Hispanics, we have Native Americans, we have from all walks of life. And these guns, the way they were allowed to walk, and what I mean by walking, they violated every set of principles that law enforcement does. There was no surveillance. There was no tracking. They didn't work with the Mexican government. They didn't work with the Arizona folks. And we're put into harm's way. We will be repeatedly finding these guns at crime scenes throughout our state. And as America understands this, and there's been no one held accountable for this, this will not go away. There will be a reckoning. And as my mom always used to say, take your reckoning early, because the reckoning at the end is much worse.
No, it's true. And look at this Attorney General. And, he says, you guys don't have the facts. What you've done is, instead of giving border security agents the tools they need to protect themselves, this is what you did. He talks about protecting the agents. Look what they did under Operation Fast and Furious. And as you said, we're all going to be paying a price for years to come.
Oh, absolutely. Protecting them? Are you kidding me? They put them in harm's way. No one knew where they were going to come about. They failed to interdict them when they should have. They put the federal firearms licensees in direct conflict. Then a lot of these federal firearms licensees did not want to sell the guns, and they were forced to sell the guns. That is absolute ludicrous. And that's the other thing I want to make sure, Jenny, that all our friends out there, is that all the federal firearms licensees followed the letter of the law to a T. Thank you so very much. They did their job. And trying to be impugned, this administration is trying to impugn them, and our Second Amendment rights is absolutely horrendous.
He talks about not giving them the tools, and we know what kind of tools he's talking about. More gun laws.
Absolutely.
This gun reporting scheme.
Actually, one of my colleagues on the other side, Mr. Quigley, actually kept bringing it up on conversations on the floor. He actually spoke about that this wouldn't have happened if we had gun laws. And that's so sad. That is really sad.
And we have them, again, as you said on the floor, they go, well, you know what, this started with Bush. This is Bush's fault.
Well, that program was so problematic as the story will unfold, that program ended in 2007. Now, let me see. That was the year before Obama got elected and before the Attorney General was put into office. That case was closed. So this administration and this Attorney General, particularly Lanny Breuer, sent people to reopen it and relook at it. And the lie that was told to Senator Grassley, the same day that letter was delivered to Grassley, Lanny Breuer is in Mexico City proposing another gun-running scheme to the Mexican government. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. America, this is an absolute insult. But I guess what? If the name follows, I guess maybe we ought to keep it. Liar, liar, pants on fire. And that's the whole thing that this administration is known for, from the health care law to immigration to gun laws to voting rights. What can we believe?
And I know you said you're not an attorney. I got to ask you, though, what about the Inspector General's report? Does that matter anymore?
Well, that would be interesting. But here's the other thing, Jenny, that I find insulting. We have an Inspector General, and that should be somebody that is very accomplished, very articulate, very detail-oriented. And yet, how did they actually contaminate one of our witnesses by exposing them to documents that they should never have seen? And is that sleight of hand, or was that in purpose?
And how does it take 18 months to get the questions you want answered? Like, who authorized this? Who knew? How long does it take?
Well, and to sit there and lie on the House floor that nobody in justice was involved in this, for upper-level justice? Are you kidding me? That came through here. That had okays up here, the wiretaps. I've seen the wiretaps. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee you, just like Daryl Issa said, are you kidding me? Did we look at the same piece of information? And that's why I wanted to go through facts and findings. We couldn't mention the wiretaps, but we can do things like Lanny Breuer on the 4th of February actually knowing about a gun-running scheme. Is this your email? This was an email sent. So they're contradicting each other. Did the Attorney General say that, he only knew about Fast and Furious a couple of weeks before May? Oh, and then the Univision came out, and yeah, then. And then January, yeah, then. And then, Brian Terry's death. Oh, yeah. Maybe we ought to be asking questions, surrounding some of the other things that happened. And you dare not say those. But, when Congressman Giffords was shot, did they ask that question?
No, I know. And then you got the president, the 11th hour, invokes executive privilege, and they don't have anything to hide?
Absolutely. He had no business here. And so does this, and then this retaliatory action that you saw in Arizona with their immigration law, and then you saw this letter coming down that they have no intentions to move this forward, that, that just gives all Americans, all U.S. citizens, that warm and fuzzy feeling about their government. And this is exactly what's wrong, and this is exactly what's wrong about this administration, Jenny, is that they play by the rules that they want to, and then they hold us to a whole different set. That's what's wrong, and that's why this monarchy has to go.
Well, you mentioned have to go. Do you hope that when people go to the polls in November, they remember this? Maybe they could ask, what if this was my son or daughter? Is this how I would want the administration to handle it?
Hearken, the first Tuesday in November.
Yeah. And the Terry family, all they want is the truth.
And I hope that everybody, I said it in my address to my constituents for the 4th of July, I hope that we take pause and reflect about what we owe this country, each and every one of us. Each and every one of us has to get involved. The last great hope I think that we have is all the talents that men and women across this country, young and old, have to bring forward on behalf of restoring the vestiges of personal accountability, personal responsibility. And my mom taught me and my dad taught me the adage that if something's wrong and it's going wrong and you do nothing, you're as guilty as the people going and doing the wrong. Mm-hmm. That is a wonderful scenario to build on this 4th of July.
It really
and I just want everybody to take and reflect a minute for the Terry family and Brian Terry, that he gave the ultimate sacrifice. And what's so worse about it was that it was done by our own government. Where have you seen a scandal like this that involves someone dying by the hands of their own government?